In our last episode, we shared news of Google's new quantum computer, which raised all kinds of questions about breaking Bitcoin's cryptographic code. While we were able to speculate a bit about what that means, we decided to invite a real quantum physicist to the show to provide deeper insight. And to make it even more interesting, he's got a really thick French accent. So bonjour mes amis et bienvenue à episode number 689 of Le Podcast de Bad Crypto.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
Hey, welcome everybody. It's the Bad Crypto Podcast. Comrade Travis Wright, Comrade Joel Comm here in the house. And today we are really doing part 2 of this topic of quantum computing and what it means to Bitcoin. Only we have an expert to speak with, and he is French, and his accent is pretty thick. You know, when he's speaking English, you gotta listen carefully. It's worth it because the dude knows what he's talking about, but you have to listen.
And before we get into that, I just want to say, just as a general date stamping here, it is the 13th of July. We just heard today that Alex Mashinsky has been arrested by the SEC, and XRP has been declared to not be a security. So that's some interesting stuff that now, by the time you're hearing this, is already out there. But it's just kind of crazy. A lot of stuff going on in the crypto world, and some things that we need to start thinking about in this new AI, blockchain, quantum computing world, and how are our algorithms and our encryptions safe? Joel, is our cryptography safe?
So that's already old news, Trev, just like you and I. We're old news. So 2 things we're going to bring to you after the break. One, we're going to talk a little bit about the 6th anniversary of this show and what we're planning. And 2, we've got an NFT for you if you're a member of the Bad Crypto Nifty Club. So let's get into this whole quantum computing thing with Pierre-Luc Dallaire-Demers. Très bien. So, Trav, you were out on the internets and you're trying to do some research on this whole quantum computing thing and Google's Bitcoin killer, cryptography killer, and you came across a tweet. Tell me about that.
Well, it was my tweet, actually. I came across an article about Google's quantum computer and how they're making transactions. What they were saying was this new supercomputer can make calculations in 1 second that would take current today rival supercomputers 47 years to do. And I was like, what? That seems like some hyperbole. And so I found that on Feedly and I tweeted it out. It's got now over 69,000 views. Actually, 69,420 views. I think that's the proper internet number. But I was like, dude, so how long is this going to take to break the Bitcoin encryption? And so our friend here, Pierre-Luc, he came in and said 10 minutes. And then, oh my God, did that create a hornet storm of people calling him names and calling him an idiot? And then I'm like, wait a second, he doesn't seem like an idiot. He seems really nice. I was like, wait a second, he's one of the top minds in quantum science and the top rated guy in cryptography and physics. Like, this dude might be somebody we want to talk to, Joel. So basically, he's a random internet guy.
Yeah, and he also seems French, so we got that going for us. His name is Pierre-Luc Dallaire-Demers. He's the founder and CEO of the Poly Group. They work to secure digital assets from quantum computer attacks and interface blockchains and quantum technologies. He's been in the quantum space, gang, for 17 years, so clearly he doesn't know what he's talking about. He was also previously a quantum physicist at Zapata Computing and Xanadu as a postdoctoral research scholar at Harvard. Pierre-Luc, we will only mildly make fun of your French accents. Welcome, good sir, to the Bad Crypto Podcast. Bonjour.
Well, awesome to see you, Joel and Travis.
Thanks for coming on.
I'm super happy to be talking to you on the topic. So.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And, we covered on our last episode our understanding of what was taking place with Google's new quantum computer, but we thought it'd be best to talk to somebody who actually might know what they're talking about. And so we're going to lay down our chips on you today. So perhaps you can begin for us in explaining we're fifth graders, how quantum computing works and how it's different from classical computing.
Yeah, so the explanation is that the easiest way is probably to say what quantum computer is not. So like it's not often like people think, okay, either it's like a computer that computes like all answers in parallel and gives you the answer. It's not really that. It's not either much faster than classical computers. So like a quantum computer runs at about like 1 megahertz. So like by measure of like your laptop, like it's kind of sluggish. But it's a more general form of computing. So like there's it uses the laws of quantum mechanics to do some types of calculation which would not be possible in reasonable time, even on supercomputers. And the magic here happens, if you want, because say you could build like a classical computer. You take like a billiard balls, and then you place like pins everywhere, and you shake it and try to get an answer like probabilistically. With quantum computer, there's something a bit more general. It's not even probabilities. It's something called amplitude of probabilities, and like the manipulating those with quantum gates allows us to say break cryptography, do quantum simulations much faster. And it's really the crux of the technology. So like it's really about being able to control quantum states and isolate them enables new types of calculation. And the technology has been discovered like almost 40 years ago now, and the experimental progress started in the 90s. In the 2000s, like we saw like the first like qubits, so like people like successfully being able to control like the smallest possible particles and like enable them to do calculation. There was still a lot of noise, but recently we've entered a regime where like the large-scale machines and the ability of those systems to break crypto are getting like we see the path to get there, like in engineering.
I don't understand. I'm gonna be candid here, and I'm gonna say I'm trying to understand this as a fifth grader or a 12-year-old. And what I hear you saying is the computers aren't any faster. Right. We're talking about the kind of hardware we're used to. So is it the software? What is it that allows it to do exponentially faster computing than classical computing?
It's a bit related to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So if you measure the position of a particle, you don't get its speed, or if you measure its speed, you get like the position. It's kind of the same. So instead of having bits, as in classical computers for like a transistor switch, we have qubits, and there's also quantum bits, which can be like zeros and one, but they also have this Heisenberg uncertainty principle where like they can be in a superposition of both, and if you measure it, then it's like there's kind of an axis where there's uncertainty. And when you have several of those, then the space of possible combination becomes exponentially large. And if you tune it just the right way, there's some answers which you can extract, namely for like say factoring, or like say simulating molecules like materials. So it's really, in some sense, an excursion in a much larger space. But the ability to go in a much larger space and then come back like to the answer.
It's really wild. It's really wild when you think about it. And I think it's confusing for a lot of people. So I went to ChatGPT-4 and I'm like, what's the easiest way to describe quantum computing? And it says, imagine you're flipping a coin. The coin can either be heads or tails. That's a bit like a normal computer work with the bits, binary ones and zeros. And so now imagine if the coin could be both heads and tails at the same time while it's flipping in the air. And so instead of having these crossroads where you come to the fork in the road, you go, oh, so I need to go left, left. Oh, I need to go right or left, left. You're able to go to all of them simultaneously in one parallel, but also not just on one plane, but also not just linearly, but also exponentially simultaneously. So it seems to me like it's just such a bigger way of doing complex computing that it's not even easy to understand at all. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, and like when physicists do that, like we treat it through the equation, we understand the equation, but like in terms of explaining it in terms of classical analogies, it doesn't work, because if there was an easy classical analogy, there would be an easy classical way to do it on classical computers. So that's where the normal intuition we have about computing like breaks down. And that's why it's always like so difficult, like even in like news article or even on ChatGPT, to explain in simple concept what it does. So like it's really when you take like the principles of quantum mechanics, those principles are more general than what we're used to when we think in terms of probabilities. There's those more general objects, and it's really those objects with like which gives the power to quantum computers. And these phenomena are totally real. So like it's what like we see when we do say entanglement. So when we have those particles which like the total body of the particles is like fully known. So it's kind of it's entanglement. So you know exactly like how the many particles are assembled. But if you only take one, you only get noise. So like classically, usually, like if you have like many objects, there's no uncertainty. If you have a box of orange, if you pick an orange, you know it's going to be an orange. If you have like a quantum superpositions of apples and orange, like you can know exactly how many there will be in total. But if you pick one, it's always going to be random. And this is a very quantum phenomenon. So you can know exactly the state of many objects, even if the individual components are completely random. And this only happens in quantum mechanics.
He's comparing apples to oranges, Trav.
No, he's not. He's comparing apples to oranges.
Oranges. So, okay, you mentioned qubits. Qubit. Again, make it simple, because we're the village idiots. What's a qubit?
So it's a quantum bit. So like it's like a bit is a 0-1, it's a switch in the classical computer. A quantum bit is kind of a switch also, like it's a piece of memory, it's a bit of information. So it can be it can be like physically can be several things depending on how you build your quantum computer. So it can be like simple atoms, and then you have an electron. It's say if it's moving in one direction, it's a 0. If it's moving in the other direction, it's a 1. And then like you can measure like the direction it's moving, so you can know in which state it is. But like you can use a laser and put it in a superposition of both. So like it happens because the like atoms are governed by the laws of quantum mechanics. And then there's other technologies. So say Google, IBM, they have like small loops of superconductors with no resistance, and like the current can go in one way, the other way it's a 0, like 0-1, and there's similar principles to like manipulate those quantum bits, like to flip the states and do logical operations. It can be semiconductors as they do at Intel. It can be neutral atoms. There's various different technologies now. The principle is always that you pick the like a very quantum object, as though that we study in quantum mechanics, and you identify, you put a tag on what's a 0, you put a tag on what is 1, and then using lasers or microwaves or something, then you're able to change the state of those objects and put it in like do quantum operations on those. And if
one of the things I think is curious for most people is that, for me, because I was reading this and it said, in 2019, Google released a quantum computer that was like 41 or 43 qubits, right? And now they released a brand new one recently, at the end of last month, early part of this month, that was 70 qubits. And it was talking about how even though it's only like 27 qubits more, it's like 241 million times more powerful or something. So it's I don't know that we fully understand how big or powerful a qubit is when we're comparing it to a bit, because a bit in a normal computer, a bit ain't shit, but a qubit is some way. And it's like the more of them, it seems like it's becoming exponentially more powerful somehow. And I don't know that we understand why that is.
The full explanation of why quantum computers are more powerful, no one knows. We just like we know
that is not helpful.
what we know is that if you try to solve like the equations of quantum mechanics with a supercomputer, it's going to be exponentially large. While with the quantum computer, you just implement the operation and it works much faster.
So this is like some universal God stuff or something. Like we don't even understand how, but it's at the quantum field. It's this microscopic little bits doing shit that we don't understand, but it's able to compute. It's mind blowing. And so understanding what we understand at this point, which is very little, frankly, right? We're trying to understand it, but we just had Pierre tell us nobody really understands why it does it, but it's crazy. So, the conversation has been, is Bitcoin safe? And so how long will Bitcoin be safe? And maybe what could be done for this, post-quantum encryption type of thing that we're going to need. So let's start with, why do you think Bitcoin is not safe long term?
Yeah, so one of the problem with quantum computers, I don't know if you've heard about the Schrodinger's cat, so the cat in the box, and like if you can have an atom, and then like if the essentially a qubit, you put the qubit in a superposition, and then you put a mechanism that
is it like the double slit experiment thing?
Very close, very close. So if you observe the cat is one of two states. So like the environment, if the cat makes any noise, if there's any like information about the state of the cat that come out of the box, then the cat is in a definite state.
It's like it relates to the observer, and it's almost like qubits work. Like if you observe them, they work one way. If you don't observe them, it's almost like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there, do you hear it? And you don't know. But in the quantum field, qubits work differently if you're not paying attention to them, but once you give it intention or pay attention to it, it works a certain way, right?
Exact. Yeah. And that's the whole art, actually, because any like if there's a train like a few miles away, or like if there's too many people in the lab, it's actually it's noise that can give like very fraction of bits of information about the quantum computer, and it collapses the state. So we have to completely isolated from the environment. So like there's something called the decoherence that like just like collapse the state, and then your calculation is just noise. And there's a technique, it's called like, we know we can correct those errors. So like it's the whole field of quantum error correction. And this is what's actually happening in the field. And like it's what makes the difference between the very noisy qubits that you can try online, and like you'll do a few operations, it's going to get lost in noise. Those operations, when you have enough qubits, then you can start to kind of amplify increase the quality of the box if you want. So if you have enough qubits, you use only a few of them to encode information, and you use all the others to evacuate all the noise. And then you effectively have a box, kind of like the cat, but like an algorithmic box. And in this, that's where you can do a very large quantum computation. And this is the space where you start to break cryptography. So like up to recently, it was the very noisy machines, but now we're kind of at the point where before, if you had qubit, you increase the noise because there's just more stuff that it can interact. But now we're at the point where we can add qubits, and we can kind of amplify the coherence of the machine. And there's a point, and it allows to do more operation. It actually amplify exponentially the number of operations that we can do. Go ahead.
I'd like to say I'm keeping up, but obviously this is, what we're talking here is not just mechanical, it's philosophical, because we don't even understand some of it. So, your response to Travis's tweet that it would take a computer capable of quantum supremacy 10 minutes to break the Bitcoin cryptographic algorithm. This is definitely, what does this mean to the crypto world if that's the case?
Yeah, not today, but the machines, like the technology is on the path to be able to do that in about like less than 10 years now. So in less than
10 years, we got a decade to upgrade the code and figure this out.
It's a good news because it's not done. It's not a switch. So as the famous cryptographers are saying, like it's not a Tuesday patch. The main problem is that for blockchains, so like to say governments right now, or like companies, they're worried about store now, decrypt later. So like intelligence agencies just collecting the data and waiting until they have the machines to break it. And just like collect the information. For blockchains, it's essentially it's a ledger of public key which is distributed. So like the copies exist everywhere. You don't need to store it. Like people do it for you. Those public keys are the type of problem which those quantum computers, which are being built now by the end of the decade, will be able to break. And it's not even a question of whether the computers break it or not. So large companies, they don't build those machines to break Bitcoin. They build it to do new materials, new drugs, like to do discoveries of new science. But it turns out that those same algorithms, which can be used to do new science, are as difficult as the algorithm to break the crypto. So if like in 2035, there's quantum computers in universities, there's got to be students with nothing to do will just like start breaking Bitcoin because they can. And just the fact that the machine can exist can reduce the confidence in blockchains which rely on those signatures which can be broken. And that's kind of the problem. Like the news cycle will be that like the quantum computers will get better and better. People will legitimately ask the question, okay, like is Bitcoin safe? And the answer is no, it's not really. So that's why it's important to start thinking about the crypto agility of blockchains now and how people will be able to protect assets, how like the upgrade can be done such that as like the machines get more powerful, the Bitcoin community can say, okay, but we're aware of it, like here's the plan, here's how we mitigate like the different problems with say the Satoshi Bitcoins, and like the some addresses are more resistant. Here's the plan to like sunset the old cryptographic methods, and from that point, like it builds more confidence that the system will be able to hold even in the presence of like the quantum computers of the future. So, but like this is not something that can be done overnight, because first, like the community has to find, okay, which method they're going to be using, deploy them, then get consensus on what happens with like the vulnerable address, which is not an easy topic. So it kind of goes like the Bitcoin is very resilient because it's decentralized, but to upgrade the crypto, somehow everyone has to agree together on what's going to be the next step. So it kind of there has to be a point where all the players come, agree on something, and then update the system or find a path to upgrading the system while keeping it decentralized. And that's the very difficult. It's less a technical challenge more than a big coordination challenge to get everyone to agree on what are what is the rational path to upgrading the system.
That makes sense, because if you were to look at that just based on what you had said, wow, how long will it take for this? Because my question originally was, how long will it take for quantum computing to get to the point where it can crack Bitcoin? And you came in and said 10 minutes. And so there was a little confusion there, which I think did set off some of the OGs like Jameson Lopp joined in and said, you don't understand. It's good. He goes, I'm going to make a bet. This won't even be relevant within 10 years from now. And then Adam Back came in and he was saying, yeah, put your money where your mouth is, blah, blah. So you got these OGs who are a little sort of, self-confident and righteous about it, but there's a whole lot of people who don't understand it at all. And so since they're so deep in it, I think that's where a lot of the problem is. And that's one of the reasons why Joel and I started the show, is that there's so many smart people, way smarter than us, that's doing these algorithms and creating these cryptographic solutions and whatnot that go over most people's heads. And I don't think a lot of those really smart OGs are able to dumb it down. It's hard for you to dumb it down because you're so cerebral in the quantum computing world that it's hard for you to dumb it down for folks. But that's what we need, is because we don't understand it. But I'm looking at your top pinned tweet where it talks about DARPA and it talks about the quantum utility example. So, when this article came out in 2021, we were sitting at 10 to the second power number of interacting qubits. That's where we were now. Are we now at 10 to the third power of qubits now with Google's new quantum computer? Is that how we've gone up the list now? Because it looks like based on that trending chart, that's where it would be.
IBM as the plan to release the 1,121 qubit machine in 2023. So it's after the year is passed now. So my expectation is either going to be end of the year or maybe early next year.
So that's 10 to the third power then of okay.
So neutral atoms also are close there, and they have plans to release 1,000. So it's actually on that path right now.
Okay.
So this plot, it's actually from that moment. So I'd been in crypto since 2013. And we were working on the DARPA projects, and the managers were okay, take screenshot of that, because it's kind of the point where it becomes public that the zeitgeist a few years ago was we would have 100 qubit by 2030, but from that point
we would have a what qubit?
100. In 2021, people were mostly okay, it's gonna be 100. But from that point, what DARPA did is they went around the big companies and they just collected their roadmaps and anonymized them just because it's the way they agreed.
It looks like there's somebody at 2029 said that they can get to 10 to the sixth power of number of interacting qubits. I don't know who said that, but 2029, and then right above that, right beyond that is quantum supremacy.
It's where crypto starts breaking. And it's where crypto starts breaking with the old algorithms, because what's happening is the number of qubits is increasing and the algorithm are making the requirements lower also. So there's kind of the two trends that are converging. And this plot did not include progress in AI.
So wait a second, should we just have quantum computing Bitcoin miners? Just be and boom, it just creates, it figures out the puzzle quicker, and you'd be able to claim more of the Bitcoin that's been mined?
People have looked and there's really two important crypto part. In Bitcoin, there's the signature. This is the part which is risky, and there's the consensus, so the hashing. And the problem with hashing is that you need a quantum computer the size of the city to make it faster. So
not yet.
It's not a problem. It's really the signature. The signature, if you want, the real measure of progress is the number of quantum operations you can do. Right now, we can do maybe 10,000, it's still in a lot of noise. Breaking crypto is about 50 million operations. The quantum simulations, if you want to simulate materials, it's also in the millions of operations. If you want to do hashing, it's 10 with 40 zeros operation. So getting to one.
So we're still kind of really early, but in this game, it can ramp up really quickly, as we just noticed. From 3 years ago, and now here the next one's 241 million times more powerful. We're still early, but if we're not making contingency plans for down the road, we could be caught with our pants down and have some problems with crypto being destroyed by quantum computing.
Yeah, and the error correction stuff is why I was talking about that, is that it amplifies exponentially the number of operations that we can do. So we can do 10,000 now, in 2 years, we can do 1 million. In for 5-10 years, we can do 1 billion. It just blows up of the water. And that's the whole point. If it was exponential, so if we could only increase linearly the number of qubits, no one would be building quantum computers. It would be exponential. It's really that it's, I don't have to explain polynomial and exponential. When we reach that point where we can do exponential amplification, then you only need to add polynomial number of resources to break Bitcoin, and really physical resources, so including the power pipe, the material, everything. So
we have
it's not nothing in a wall. It's what it looks like.
Aren't our problems even bigger than that at that point, Pierre-Luc? Because cryptography is not just cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and blockchain, right? We have governments that depend on secure cryptography. We have businesses, we have financial institutions, and we see, people hacking into these organizations now. With the power of quantum computing, rogue actors will be able to get in and mess with everything, right? We can have some serious issues in global politics, and people's money just disappearing, their CBDCs, right? Whatever it is that we're going to have years from now. So what are governments and industry doing to prepare for this type of onslaught?
They're already starting. So like even the big quantum company, often they have a crypto arm, and they are starting to upgrade companies. The White House already have directives like for the different agencies to like do the inventory, start upgrading. Some banks are starting to look at it. Telecoms, Google internal communication is already quantum resistant. They're building a quantum computer. The Cloudflare, I think, upgraded. So like governments, industries are already starting to upgrade. Blockchains have to follow as well. And there's kind of an historical thing also. So like the very specific method that Satoshi picked in 2008 to sign the transaction, it turns out that it's about 100 times easier to break with a quantum computer than the one used by banks. So like the back in 2008, it made sense because like the quantum computers were not like it was like 2 qubits, and it was like complete noise. Expert would say, okay, like it's 50 years away at least. But then like progress happened fast, and now it just turns out that the signatures of Bitcoin is one of the easiest to break. So before you get to the point where you can break banks, there's like almost a generation of 2 of quantum computers that in between there's not much else to do than breaking like elliptic curves and doing very simple quantum simulation. So Bitcoin is kind of a canary in the mine there, and it's contingency. So that I don't think people like. It was known in 2003 that those signatures would be broken, but the timelines were not clear. So it made sense to pick those signatures in 2008, and somehow like it just stayed. But like the very specific cryptography that was used for Bitcoin also turned out to be one of the simplest to break, and that's kind of the issue. So the government agencies like banks, everyone is upgrading like legitimately, but already they were using mostly RSA, and RSA is just a bit more difficult to break with quantum computers by about like a generation of machines, and that's why I think it's a bigger emergency for like cryptocurrencies than it is for banks or like for governments, which also have to prepare because like they have to face like other kinds of threats.
Do you think there might be some stuff popping up then, maybe some quantum resistant cryptocurrencies that may, Bitcoin's obviously the one that everybody's been holding on to for so long, but if they get to the point where they're not quantum resistant, is that an opportunity for some cryptocurrency that does position itself similar to Bitcoin, but is resistant to the quantum computers?
Yes. So there are known methods which resist quantum computers. So like it's the not like there's only a few crypto methods which are known to be vulnerable, and like it's well characterized. There are some quantum resistant blockchains, so it's going to be definitely an opportunity for them. The risk.
What are their names, if you don't mind asking?
I know like QRL, the quantum resistant ledger, like they're using hash signatures, and those are resistant.
Okay.
What else? There's a few smaller chains who essentially
maybe tweet it out so we can put it in our show notes, because I think that might be interesting for people that we're not making financial recommendations, just as something to maybe do some research on.
And I have not audited like the code there, so it's up to the point where like I know those things. Yeah, those guys, they're serious.
QRO.
Yeah, we will have to audit like the others just to make sure like it's well implemented. But for sure, it's an opportunity for quantum resistant blockchain because they don't have like essentially like they're safe from ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
But we still argue that most blockchains should upgrade, because say if most of the market caps were to be like crippled by quantum computers, if the quantum resistant blockchains are standing in a wasteland, it's not necessarily a better situation than because no one because like most users won't look at the details of the cryptography. It's not a better situation than like if at least like some parts of the current blockchains that are graded. So like we think it's an industry problem.
Joel, do you have any additional questions? I have another one around a different topic. So if you have any more around,
go ahead, Trav. I think my brain is doing quantum.
I can see a little bit of steam coming out of that one ear. The other one was a little bit of smoke, so I didn't know. So you're doing some cool stuff when it comes to blockchain, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence. And so, just a general sort of thought, what we know around quantum computing, it would seem that it's going to allow for some faster data processing, potentially allowing for complex problem solving, and maybe even some improved machine learning models. But how do you foresee quantum computing interacting with AI? And essentially, by the year 2030, our overlords are going to be quantum AI, or what?
Likely. So it's not like it's the topic of debate among experts. So like, is there an advantage to quantum machine learning? It's unknown. Like intuitively, there should be some kind of advantage. So like, if you were to wire an AI with the quantum computer, like you would expect like the better material. So if you had to design new materials and you want to do it from quantum mechanics, you wire an AI with a quantum computer and like you give the AI the ability to process like quantum problem. It's likely the form it will take by those times, because the quantum machines, like it's not an instantaneous calculation. So like if you do like those simulations, it's still going to be like minutes or hours. So it's going to be like a very fast AI in collaboration with quantum computers from which they extract data and like do essentially like experiments on simulation. So it's likely going to be the form. It's not that useful to process large amount of data. So it's like cryptography. Cryptography is like only a few bits of specification and it breaks it. For quantum simulation, you only specify like the position of the atoms and it solves it. If you have a gigantic amount of data, since quantum computers are like a megahertz, it's not necessarily like the best approach like to do large data. It's really like for some types of specific problem, which use supercomputers otherwise, and past some scale, even the supercomputers cannot. So it's likely going to be a form of a collaboration between large quantum computers and very powerful AIs, at least for like the 2030s. That's what.
And then they're going to be implemented into the Boston Dynamics little robot dog things, and then Terminator gets merged in, and then by 2032 we're mostly dead, pretty much.
Well, no, I'm not that pessimistic. I'm not that pessimistic. Like I think we'll get better materials. Like hopefully we'll finally get like superconductors like at room temperature.
So crazy, man. This is a weird world we're in.
It is. Yeah. I'll tell you, there's two kinds of people that are listening to the show right now: those who understand what you're talking about, and those who are glad that there's somebody who's working on this that does understand it, even if they don't. So appreciate you coming.
Could you imagine politicians in Washington D.C. trying to think about this?
No,
they still don't even know if you're on the internet, if you're on Facebook. Are you on the Facebook? If I'm on the Facebook, does that make? Wait a second. What is this quantum? What is?
Yeah, I'm on the America Online, so I must be on the internet.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, is that like AI? Because I see an A in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's another point also, like CBDCs are being built quantum resistant from the start. So like to like keep like the space, like the private blockchains, public blockchains alive, like past the CBDC age. I think like the quantum resistant.
Dude, Joel, I had a thought about that. I was like, wait a second. So Bitcoin, is not quantum resistant. It gets cracked. All these Bitcoin that are on these addresses that nobody has, they've lost them. Boom. Some government or some entity snags all those Bitcoins, crashes Bitcoin, and then they promote their quantum resistant CBDC. That's something I thought about. Yeah,
that's a screenplay right there, Trav.
Let's not do that.
That's a little short story that you can write. You know what? It's all blowing my mind, but I'm glad that you came on to explain it to us today.
Come a long way from that Commodore 64, huh, Joel, or the TR-80 or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a TRS-80 with 4K of RAM. Yeah, but the Z80 microprocessor.
And that was a supercomputer then.
You wouldn't even use that to make toast today. I mean, that's just Well, merci, monsieur. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing with us. We do appreciate it. So there you go. Maybe you're one of those that has better understanding now, or maybe you're one of those that's like, well, I'm glad there's somebody out there who does understand it, because I got to go play on my Nintendo and, figure out how to win Zelda.
You got some more Zelda you got to go knock out.
Yeah. And that's fine. Either way, it's coming, ready or not. And I'm glad that there's people, and I'm sure that there are people on the Bitcoin core team that are taking this threat seriously and are looking at how do we make this chain quantum resistant as well.
Or it could be an attempt. I just look at this, and I always sort of think that, the sort of black ops in the military, they always have technology way before anybody else tends to have it, right? The internet, they had that way before they released it to the public. AI has been something that they've had that the public hasn't had. And so I just wonder, how powerful are the things behind the scenes that we don't necessarily know, And it's like, this is what we think we know, but what do we really know is going on behind the scenes? That's what I always kind of think about. And so when I hear some, crypto OGs kind of scoffing at the idea that, quantum computing is way farther away than anyone could even possibly imagine. And I go, well, consumer, technology possibly, right? But what's behind that black door that we don't know? And that's what we don't know what we don't know. So that's all I know.
I don't know what you even know, let alone what I don't know. So, that's the mantra here, is that we don't know. But
what do you know?
I don't know. I don't know squat. I know that we're going to give away an NFT to commemorate
that's what
this episode. I know that.
Yeah.
So Lord Travis has been working on some cool quantum NFT, and you need to be a member of the Bad Crypto Nifty Club. If you are not yet a member, it's simple. It's so easy. Go to badcrypto.uncut.network, and you want to get the spinny red NFT. It's so inexpensive. We just set a price of a couple bucks on it so that the bots don't take it and get the cool airdrops. If you don't have it yet, you've missed many airdrops, but this is
I think over 40 NFTs that have been dropped, I think, so far collectively in that group. Something like that.
Because of all the Cornutopia ones. Yeah. That could be
10 of those. And so, but really, we've been doing this now close to a year when it comes down to, not quite a year, but so we've been dropping quite a few little NFTs along the way. When you get Bad AI and then the other Bad Media.io products that we've got in there. So I think what I saw, I think it was almost 40.
Okay. Well, whatever it is, you're not getting them if you don't have the Bad Crypto Nifty Club NFT. So go get the spinny NFT. It's red and black. It's got me and Travis on it. And once that's in your wallet, you're going to start getting these free airdrops. So
I think you can even use a credit card now. You don't have to have.
I think you can.
ETH. Yeah. So they got it set up in a way. Yeah. Go ahead.
And I'll tell you this, if you don't have, if you're not yet on Uncut, you will be. There are some really interesting things that I cannot yet reveal to you that we are aware of that are happening there. And
we're aware, but you're not aware, so we can't tell you. Don't stare.
So beware. So it's coming, and you want to get this Bad Crypto Nifty Club membership.
Yeah. Think of it like this. Is as a thing you can say is that, so if you have an Ethereum NFT of, say, Bored Apes or Pudgy Penguins or whatever, it auto puts you in these communities. And if you sell an NFT, then you're no longer in that community automatically, which is a lot different than Discord. But there's some other really cool stuff that's going to be happening on this. And we are the earliest of adopters, bringing you the good stuff. So jump on, and so you can have the ability to play around and explore as we're creating fun, cool shit.
And one more big piece of news. Happy anniversary, Sir Lord Travis. This is number 6. It was July 18th of 2017 that we had the first episode of Bad Crypto Podcast. Number 1 came out. We've done countless hours of the show since, countless live shows and events, and talked to
and we're still friends. It's unbelievable. We're like still connected, and like,
I know,
not like fuck you. It's like, wow, we're still for like, there's been a little bit of fuck you, but like not very little comparatively. There's like about one Travis rant fuck you a year. that you got to deal with, and then it goes away, and it's like, all right, well, there
Then
you
you
go.
say you're sorry, and then we. So I think that
Daddy
we
Joel.
let's do another NFT that will be after the next episode that commemorates 6 years of Bad Crypto.
6.
Yeah.
6.
So that'll be another airdrop, another reason to get the Bad Crypto Nifty Club NFT at badcrypto.uncut.network. You'll get that, you'll be ready for it, and it will have everything that you need so that you can officially stay back.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.